Listen up. We've got intel that the Villain League is operating a science lab in Northern Europe. They're supplying weapons to villains all over the world. I need a small team to go investigate. Mr. Rence, you're definitely in. You're our getaway driver, so no ducking out of this. They might need my powers. My lightning could help us get past their security systems. If the Villain League's got reinforced doors, I can crack them open.
I don't know how much use my powers would be. I mean, I can only control grass, and that doesn't exactly help against whatever's waiting inside.
You'll need me. My blades could make all the difference if things get tough.
I wish I could go, but I'd just be a liability. My immortality makes me a big target, and if the Villain League gets wind of me, they'll focus all their efforts on capturing me. I'd put the whole mission at risk.
Connor folds his arms, considering.
We still need one more person. I'll check with some of the other heroes and see who's available. And I'm going to interrogate the Love Bandit. He's got intel on where exactly in Northern Europe the lab is. Once we've got the location, I want you all ready to go.
The group leaves the office, preparing for the mission ahead, waiting for Connor's final word. Connor pulls out his communication device and opens a secure channel. His voice is calm but firm as he speaks into it.
All right. I need one more hero for a mission to Northern Europe. Colton, Zach, Mr. Rence, and Mr. Dugan are already set, but we need one more person to complete the team. Who's available?
A brief silence follows, and then a response crackles through the device.
This is Quantum Shift. I hear you need help. I can manipulate molecular structures and control their behavior. If you're up against reinforced buildings or tech, I'm your guy.
Connor grins, recognizing the perfect fit.
Quantum Shift. Your abilities are exactly what we need. We've got intel on a Villain League lab, and there's a good chance their security is tight. Colton's lightning can get us in, but your molecular manipulation might be key for what comes after.
I'm in. Just let me know when and where, and I'll be ready.
I'll send the mission details once I interrogate the Love Bandit. Stand by.
Quantum Shift acknowledges, and Connor cuts the line. With the team almost complete, Connor heads out to gather the final piece of the puzzle information from the Love Bandit. Connor descends into the dimly lit basement of the Hero League headquarters, the echo of his boots punctuating the silence. He approaches the heavily secured holding cell where the Love Bandit sits slouched on the small cot. Connor stands before the cell, his eyes fixed on the Love Bandit.
You know why I'm here. You're going to tell me everything you know about the Villain League science lab in Northern Europe.
The Love Bandit smirks, trying to maintain his bravado. Love Bandit. Oh, Connor, come on, you're really going to interrupt my piece for that? You know how it goes, I don't talk, and you don't get what you want. Connor steps closer to the bars, his voice lowering but becoming more intense.
You don't get to play games here. You've been stealing from innocent people, and the only thing keeping you from facing something worse than this cell is your cooperation. So I'll ask again, where is the lab?
The Love Bandit leans back, crossing his arms defiantly. Love Bandit, even if I did know, what makes you think I'd tell you? You're not scaring me, Connor. Connor's gaze hardens, the temperature in the room seeming to drop as his patience thins.
You think I'm here to scare you? No. I'm here to remind you that every second you stay silent, you're sealing your own fate. You'll sit here alone, forgotten by the villains you work for. They won't care what happens to you once you're no use to them. But if you cooperate, maybe, just maybe, you'll walk out of here one day.
The Love Bandit's smile falters slightly, a flicker of doubt in his eyes. Connor presses on, his voice unwavering.
Tell me where the lab is, or I'll make sure that whatever small favors or deals you think are coming your way vanish. Your choice.
A tense silence stretches between them. Finally, the Love Bandit shifts uncomfortably and exhales in frustration. Love Bandit. All right, fine, you win. It's in a facility hidden in a mountain range in Northern Europe. They call it the Citadel. That's where they're building and supplying weapons. It's heavily fortified with multiple layers of defense. You're going to need more than just brute force to get in. Connor watches him carefully, gauging the sincerity in his words.
Coordinates?
The Love Bandit hesitates for a second longer, then rattles off a set of coordinates that align with what Connor had suspected. Connor nods, turning on his heel without another word.
You better hope this information is accurate, because if it's not, I'll be back, and you won't like the outcome.
With the intel secured, Connor leaves the holding cell and heads back to the command center, ready to brief the team on the next phase of their mission. Quantum Shift arrives at the Hero League headquarters. Stepping out of a sleek transport vehicle, a uniformed Hero League guard is waiting for him at the entrance, standing straight as he approaches. Guard, welcome to HQ Quantum Shift. Commander Connor is waiting for you inside. I'll lead you to his office.
Thanks, lead the way.
Quantum Shift nods and follows the guard. Quantum Shift follows the guard through the towering corridors of the headquarters, his steps steady, his mind already focused on the mission ahead. The hallways are lined with framed photos of legendary heroes, a reminder of the long legacy the Hero League has upheld. They reach Connor's office and the guard gestures toward the door.
Thanks.
Quantum Shift nods in thanks and steps inside. The office is already buzzing with energy. Connor is standing by a large table covered with mission details, while Colton, Zach, Mr. Rence and Mr. Dugan are gathered around, deep in conversation. As soon as Quantum Shift enters, the room quiets, and Connor looks up, his face breaking into a smile.
Quantum Shift. Glad you could make it. You're just in time.
Happy to be here, Commander. Let's get to work.
Let me introduce you to the rest of the team. This is Colton. He's got lightning powers that we'll need to breach the lab's defenses. Zach, with his telekinesis, can assist us in dealing with obstacles. Mr. Rence here is our driver, and you'll need his skills to get in and out fast. And finally, Mr. Dugan. His blade fingers will come in handy if we need to slice through any barriers.
Each of the heroes nods in acknowledgement, exchanging brief greetings with Quantum Shift. Connor turns back to the table, spreading out a map of Northern Europe.
Now let's get down to business. I just interrogated the Love Bandit, and he gave us the location of the Villain League's science lab. It's hidden deep in the mountains, in a place they call the Citadel. According to him, this place is heavily fortified, with multiple layers of defense. That's where you come in, Quantum Shift.
Connor points to the map, marking the coordinates.
Your ability to control and manipulate molecules will be critical. The Citadel is likely using advanced materials, reinforced by both technology and villain powers. We'll need you to disrupt their defenses, break down barriers, and manipulate their structures to give us a tactical advantage.
Quantum Shift studies the map and nods.
I can handle that. If they're relying on anything physical or structural, I'll be able to break through or reshape it.
Colton, your lightning will disable their electrical systems once we're inside. Zach, you'll use your telekinesis to assist with securing key positions. Mr. Rence will handle our escape route, and Mr. Dugan, you'll provide the muscle if we need to cut through any obstacles quickly.
Connor's gaze sweeps across the team.
This isn't going to be easy. We're dealing with the Villain League, and there's no telling what kind of opposition we'll face. But with the intel we've got and this team's combined powers, I'm confident we can take them down. Be ready to move as soon as we arrive. The element of surprise is on our side.
The team nods in unison, the weight of the mission sinking in. The group exits the Hero League headquarters, the sky dimming as the mission approaches. They head across the expansive parking lot toward Mr. Rence's blue superspeed van, gleaming under the overhead lights. Its sleek, futuristic design stands out among the standard Hero League vehicles. Quantum Shift slows his pace as they approach, eyes widening slightly in surprise.
This is your ride? The Hero League doesn't have anything like this in their fleet.
That's because this wasn't originally a Hero League vehicle. I developed it myself before joining the League. It's custom built, faster than any standard transport, and can handle all kinds of terrain. Now that I'm part of the League, they're lucky enough to take advantage of it.
Quantum Shift runs his hand along the smooth exterior, examining the finely tuned details.
I can see why. This thing looks like it could outrun a jet.
That's the idea. And it's not just fast, it's reinforced, stealth capable, and comes with some neat tricks that I might show you if things get rough.
The rest of the group climbs in, settling into the spacious interior that's outfitted with high-tech controls and comfortable seating. The inside hums with quiet energy, a sign of the van's advanced power systems. As Quantum Shift takes his seat, he leans back, still impressed.
I've flown, teleported, and been in some crazy vehicles, but I've never seen anything like this. This is going to be an interesting ride.
Mr. Rence slides into the driver's seat, running his hands over the controls with practiced ease.
Buckle up. This thing doesn't just go fast, it moves.
With a quick look over his shoulder to make sure everyone's secure, Mr. Rence hits the ignition, and the van comes to life with a low hum that quickly grows into a powerful surge. In a flash, they shoot out of the parking lot, the world outside blurring as the superspeed van roars onto the road. carrying them toward their destination in Northern Europe. In the quiet of his room at the Hero League headquarters, Mr. Callaway paces back and forth, his thoughts racing. The room is dim, lit only by a small lamp in the corner, casting long shadows as he moves restlessly. He stops at the window, staring out into the night, his reflection staring back at him.
They're good heroes, they've got potential. Colton, Zach, Mr. Rence, Mr. Dugan, they're talented, but they're still new to this.
He walks away from the window and sits heavily on the edge of his bed, running a hand through his hair.
They've never gone up against the Villain League without me, not once.
His voice wavers with worry, the weight of his years of experience pressing down on him. Callaway leans forward, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor.
Colton's lightning powers are impressive, but he's never had to use them in a real villain facility. And Zach's telekinesis? Sure, he's strong, but does he even know what to expect in there? They've all trained, but training isn't the same as facing the Villain League head-on.
He stands up again, unable to sit still.
And Mr. Dugan, he's got the edge with those blades, but this isn't just any fight. This is the Villain League. They don't play by the rules, and they don't give second chances.
His pacing quickens, his mind cycling through the dangers he knows lie ahead.
Mr. Rence, he's a great driver, no doubt, but driving them in and out of a villain facility, that's a whole different challenge. What if something goes wrong? What if the Villain League sets a trap? They're not ready for that, not without me.
He pauses, his eyes narrowing with concern.
They've never even been inside a villain facility. They don't know the kinds of things they might see in there, the traps, the chaos. It's a whole other world.
He turns back to the window, leaning his forehead against the cool glass.
I should be with them. I should have gone, but I'd only be a target, and they don't need that. They need to prove they can do this on their own.
His reflection stares back at him, looking just as conflicted.
I just hope they're ready. I hope they can handle what's waiting for them.
The van zooms through the northern European landscape, its super-speed capabilities allowing it to cover vast distances in record time. The once densely populated areas have long since faded into the background, replaced by jagged mountains and thick forests shrouded in mist. The sky is grey, clouds hanging low, adding an eerie weight to the atmosphere. Inside the van, Colton peers out of the window, watching the scenery blur past.
Feels like we're getting close.
He taps his fingers against his leg, his mind already on the mission ahead. Zach, seated next to him, gives a slow nod.
It's going to be intense. Villain League never makes things easy.
His voice is calm, but there's a slight tremor that betrays his nerves. At the front, Mr. Rence keeps his hands steady on the controls, eyes sharp as the GPS zeroes in on the coordinates the Love Bandit had given.
We're not far. The Citadel should be just beyond this mountain range.
Quantum Shift sits back, looking thoughtful as he listens.
Once we're there, I'll assess the structure. If their defenses are molecularly reinforced, it might take a bit longer to break them down, but I'll get us in.
Mr. Dugan sits quietly, flexing his bladed fingers. The metallic sound, a reminder of the raw power he's bringing to the mission. He finally speaks up, his voice low.
When we get inside, we move fast. No hesitation. We can't give them time to set up an ambush.
The van rounds a corner and suddenly the mountains loom even larger, a towering fortress nestled into the side of the cliffs. The Citadel. Its dark walls seem to blend into the rock itself, making it almost invisible to the naked eye. A high-tech energy field hums faintly around it, a clear sign of the Villain League's advanced defenses.
There it is, the Citadel.
Quantum Shift leans forward, examining the fortress with a practiced eye.
This place is built to withstand anything. They've got an energy field up. We'll need to take it down first if we're going to get inside.
Colton cracks his knuckles, a small arc of electricity sparking between his fingers.
I can handle that. Just get me close enough and I'll fry it.
Mr. Rence slows the van down, pulling to a stop behind a rocky outcrop that hides them from view.
This is as far as I can take us without being detected. We'll go on foot from here.
The group steps out into the cold air, the wind biting at their faces as they gather their gear. Quantum Shift looks up at the towering walls of the Citadel, the weight of the mission sinking in.
Remember, we move carefully and we move together. No one's going in alone. We're a team.
The others nod, a sense of unity settling over them. For most of them, this was their first time facing the Villain League without the guidance of Mr. Callaway. But now they'd have to rely on each other. Colton leads the way, sparks of electricity dancing in his eyes as they begin their approach, each step taking them closer to the heart of the Villain League's fortress.
Colton leads the team carefully toward the shimmering energy field surrounding the citadel. The low hum of its power vibrates in the air as they approach, the barrier crackling with high-tech energy, designed to keep intruders out. Colton steps forward, eyes narrowing as he studies it. Colton. All right, this is my part, he mutters, taking a deep breath. His hands crackle with electricity, the familiar surge of power filling him. With a quick glance back at the group, he nods. Colton, stand back. He raises his hands, arcs of lightning sparking between his fingers before he thrusts them forward, sending a massive bolt of electricity surging into the energy field. The barrier flickers, its hum growing louder as it struggles to maintain stability. Colton grits his teeth and pushes harder, more electricity pouring out of him until, with a loud crack, the field collapses in on itself, leaving the citadel exposed. The others move forward quickly, keeping their eyes peeled for any sign of guards or traps. As they reach the imposing steel door that blocks the entrance to the science lab, Quantum Shift steps up, his eyes focused on the structure. Quantum Shift. This door won't be easy to crack, but it's not invincible. He raises his hand, the air around him shifting as he begins manipulating the molecules in the door. The steel seems to ripple under his control, warping and bending as Quantum Shift forces the material to break down. After a few moments, the once impenetrable door crumples inward, leaving the entrance wide open. Quantum Shift, we're in. He steps aside to let the others through. As they enter the dimly lit hallway, the group pauses to strategize. The citadel is huge, and moving around without detection would be a challenge. Mr. Rence, always quick to think on his feet, speaks up. Mr. Rence, I could shapeshift into one of the Villain League guards. If I can look like them, we can move around more freely, maybe even access restricted areas. Quantum Shift, that could work. We'll need to avoid drawing attention as much as possible. If you can pull off the disguise, we can blend in and get to where we need to go. Mr. Dugan, if we're stopped, let me do the talking. They won't suspect a thing if you keep your cover solid. Zach, can you handle the shift quickly? Mr. Rence, this isn't my first time sneaking into a villain base. I'll get it done. Without wasting time, Mr. Rence's body begins to shimmer and morph. His features shift and blur until he stands before them, now the spitting image of one of the Villain League guards, complete with a uniform and the cold, calculating expression of someone who belongs in the Citadel. Colton, not bad. He nods in approval. Quantum Shift, let's move. The sooner we get inside, the better. With Mr. Rence leading the way in his disguise, the group continues deeper into the Citadel, ready for whatever challenges lie ahead. The group moves cautiously through the cold, sterile halls of the Villain League Science Lab, keeping their heads low as they search for anything resembling a map or schematic of the facility. Each corner feels like a potential trap, the air thick with the tension of being in enemy territory. They had already passed several locked doors and storage rooms, but found nothing useful yet.
We need to find a layout of this place. There has to be a control room or some kind of data hub somewhere.
He whispers, his voice barely audible.
The longer we wander around, the more likely we'll run into.
Before he can finish, a cold voice interrupts them.
Well, what do we have here?
The group turns slowly, their hearts sinking. Standing at the end of the hall is none other than the Snake, his tall, lean frame slithering toward them with dangerous grace. His sharp eyes gleam with malice, and his mouth curls into a smile, revealing rows of venomous teeth. Everyone knows the stories. One bite from the snake, and his venom spreads through your bloodstream, killing you in minutes.
I know most of you heroes, but what's going on here?
Mr. Rence, without missing a beat, steps forward, adopting the cold demeanor of a villainous lackey.
I caught these heroes sneaking around the facility trying to sabotage our work. I was just about to take them to one of the cells, lock them up, and alert the higher-ups.
The rest of the group exchanges quick, uneasy glances. Colton and Zach tense up, worried that the plan is falling apart. Mr. Dugan shifts subtly, preparing for the worst, but Mr. Rence catches their nervous looks and gives the faintest shake of his head, signaling for them to play along. His plan, though risky, could work. They just had to trust him. The snake eyes them suspiciously, his long tongue flicking in and out as if tasting the air. He steps closer to Mr. Rence, his eyes narrowing.
You caught them all by yourself, did you? Seems a little convenient. These heroes don't exactly look like the kind to get caught so easily.
It wasn't easy, but I managed to take them by surprise. With them locked up, I can make sure no one else gets in. You and I both know how important our research here is, and I'd be happy to help gather some samples of those new weapons to make sure nothing leaves this facility.
The snake's grin widens, venom glistening on his teeth.
Interesting. I suppose locking them up will send the right message. I'll allow it for now. But don't get comfortable, heroes. Your time is coming soon.
With that, the snake slithers away, leaving the group alone in the hallway. As soon as he's out of earshot, Mr. Rence exhales quietly.
Okay, we've got a window. I'll pretend to lock you up in one of the cells, but once the coast is clear, I'll move around and grab some samples of those weapons. We need to know exactly what they're developing here, and how dangerous it is.
Colton nods, his voice steady.
We'll play along for now. Just don't take too long. And if anything goes wrong, we'll break out and take the fight to them.
Mr. Rence, still in his villain disguise, gives a sharp nod.
Trust me, we'll get what we came for.
With that, he gestures for them to follow, leading them toward one of the cells, ready to make the next move in their dangerous game of deception. Mr. Rence, still in his villain disguise, moves swiftly through the dark hallways of the Villain League's science lab. After parting ways with the group, he keeps an eye out for anything that could help their mission. It isn't long before he spots a wall terminal glowing faintly in the corner of a hallway. He approaches, keeping his movements subtle, and quickly hacks into the system. The screen lights up, revealing the schematics of the Citadel. A detailed map of the facility fills the screen, marking different sections, laboratories, storage areas, and, crucially, the basement where the cells are located. Mr. Rence takes a mental note of the layout before shutting down the terminal, not wanting to leave any trace. He heads back to the group, who are still waiting anxiously where the snake left them.
I found the cells. I'll take you there now. It's the safest option. Once you're locked up, no one will question it, and I'll have more freedom to move around and find the weapon samples.
Lock us up, I don't like this.
I don't either, but I get why it has to be done.
Colton exchanges a wary glance with Zach before nodding at Mr. Rence.
Do what you have to, just make sure you come back for us. We're trusting you.
Don't worry, I'll be back as soon as I have the weapons. You won't be in there long. It's not safe for you to be wandering around this place without cover.
The group reluctantly agrees, and Mr. Rence leads them down a series of narrow, winding corridors. The deeper they go, the more isolated and eerie the Citadel becomes. Finally, they reach the basement, a dimly lit, cold area lined with cells on either side.
This should buy us time,
he whispers as they enter one of the empty cells. The steel bars slam shut behind them with a harsh clang. Mr. Rence steps back, making sure everything looks secure.
I know this feels wrong, but it's the only way to keep you off their radar. I'll be back for you before the Villain League even realizes what's happening.
Just don't take too long. I don't like sitting here waiting for them to make the first move.
I won't. Stay put, stay quiet, and I'll handle the rest.
With one last look, Mr. Rence leaves the group in the cell, his footsteps echoing as he disappears down the hallway. Colton, Zach, and Mr. Dugan exchange uncertain glances, their nerves on edge, but they know they have no choice but to trust their teammate.
Let's hope he can pull this off.
He mutters under his breath as they settle in, waiting for Mr. Rence to complete his dangerous mission.